Okay, so we are now recording, and I have here Prasad Rangnekar. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yes.
Good. And so, thank you so much, Prasad. Namaskaram in Dallas. So it's almost night in India, right?
Yes.
So, thank you so much. I have been watching your videos on YouTube and your website, and I think you are fantastic. So that's why I wanted to interview you to get people to know you more in the United States also.
Yeah.
Hopefully. So Prasad, you are a yoga educator based in India.
Yes. Yes.
And, so you have been studying yoga for the past 35 years and teaching yoga for 24 years.
Correct. Yes.
So you have a lot of experience, and it shows, I can tell. And you teach around the world, right? And
yes.
In more than 15 countries, I believe, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. All right. So what I wanted to ask you, Prasad, is first of all, tell me a little bit about your background. Like who is Prasad? Where were you born? How did you grow up? Just a little background on you.
Well, I grew up in India. I still live in India. And I started my yoga journey when I was 9, thanks to my mom. Because it was me and my sister at home in summer vacations. And both my parents were working. So perhaps she thought that it would be good to engage the children in some value addition courses. So we had a yoga institute close to our house. So she admitted me and my sisters for a 1-month-long training course in yoga. So that's how my journey in yoga started.
Okay, excellent. And so how did you become interested in yoga as a yoga teacher? Like when did you say, I love this yoga, it's really working for me, I want to teach this to others?
So teaching yoga as in asana was not really on the top of my mind. I was pretty confused about my life for a good 26, 27 years of my life. I think somewhere when I was 25 or 26, I decided to finally live my own life. And I was interested in fitness and fitness training. So I joined a fitness trainer's course, and I became a fitness trainer and a nutritionist. But as I started training people, I realized that training people at a purely physical level is not really helping them holistically. And then perhaps it was time to remember and recall the knowledge of yoga that I was educated in pretty early in my life. And then somewhere I experimented with fitness training and yoga, as in the breathing aspects and mindfulness aspects. And a time came that I realized that yoga, as in the holistic approach towards life as yoga, has helped me personally. And that is the best way to help people. So I just decided to start teaching yoga in its holistic way.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm saying yoga and not asana, because that's one of the things I realized, that teaching people purely physical practices is not really going to help, They may look well physically, they may be flexible, strong, but unless and until you work on their minds, physical practices don't really help, We are not teaching yoga for cosmetic aspect. We are teaching yoga for a complete transformational aspect. So, then I started, you could say, teaching in whichever way I could, and it took momentum from there.
Yes. Great. So one of the things I really wanted to get to know you a little more and interview you is because precisely that philosophy that you transmit in your videos about using yoga not only as a pose, which we call asana in the yogic world, right? And or exercise. So I see a lot of that in the US, at least where I live, and other countries like Europe is everywhere, that people are just doing yoga for exercise, for looking fit, flexible. And there's a lot of misconceptions. You know, a lot of people ask me, I want to come to your yoga class, but I'm not flexible, or I'm overweight. And I try to transmit exactly that yoga is way more. We are just using a small percentage. So when I found you, I said, wow, that's fantastic. And also being a man, you know, is very important, because I have friends telling me, you know, if you want to increase your Instagram fans or whatever, you have to show your body and get into pose. And I refused, you know, I said, no, that's not what yoga is I don't want to be like that, right? So that's why you caught my attention. Okay, so tell us a little bit about what is the primary aim of yoga? What is the primary goal in your opinion, in your experience?
Those who traditionally understand yoga, the goal is very, very clear for them. The goal, as they say, is dukkha nivrutti, or means release from suffering. So people who have studied yoga traditionally and who understand yoga traditionally, they are very clear about the aim of yoga. That is release from suffering. So whichever orientation of yoga you follow, it may be karma yoga or bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, hatha yoga, doesn't matter. The goal of every yoga is release from suffering. And in fact, that is the definition of yoga in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 6, verse 23. Dukkha sanyoga vyoga. So basically, Krishna is saying that what is yoga? Yoga is basically getting out of the cycle of suffering. So the goal is very, very clear. It has always been clear. Goal was never to stretch a muscle or for a feel-good factor or recreation or feeling relaxed. No, the goal of yoga is very, very profound, and it is release from suffering. So whoever wants to be released from suffering should practice yoga. And I think that is everybody.
Of course, absolutely. It's a tool that has been given to us. It's a wonderful gift for personal growth and spiritual growth, which ends suffering at the end if you do it right, right? So I just want to mention for our audience, you know, the Bhagavad Gita is, I have this one right here. Is this the book you use?
Yes. No, that's not the book I use, but this is a good translation.
This is a good translation. So for yoga teachers, aspiring yoga teachers, we study this a little bit when we study to be a yoga teacher, right? And I had the fortune of having a very good yoga teacher, Sherry Cherokee, that she also agrees with the concept of yoga is not showing up your body and all of that, right? But I haven't studied this like you. You are so good at it in your video. So tell us a little more. What is this book? Who wrote it? And what is the significance of it for yoga teachers and practitioners?
See, currently, for some reason, we study Yoga Sutras of Patanjali as a core text of yoga. But if I had my say, I would say that everybody, all those who are interested in practicing yoga sincerely, seriously, should be exposed to the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. Right from the day one, right from the entry level. So if you're talking about creating teachers, then right from the 200-hour training, the yoga teachers need to know what Bhagavad Gita says. Why? Because Bhagavad Gita is much, much more accessible then the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali. Accessible. When I say accessible, it means it is very practical. It speaks to the common man and woman, and there are things that can be immediately put in practice. Yeah, and that is why Bhagavad Gita is one of the most translated scripture of yoga. It has been translated, commented upon, analyzed, made simple by so many mystics and yogis over last 2000 years. So what is Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita is basically, I sometimes jokingly call it, well, the world's first self-help book.
Yeah.
And it is self-help. It is basically a dialogue between primarily two characters. One is Krishna, Sri Krishna, who is a divine being, and the other is Arjuna, who is a confused being. So through the dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, it takes around 18 chapters and 700 verses to go through that dialogue. You can see the transformation of Arjuna, the confused individual, into a very, very confident and self-assured individual. And that is our story as a human, as a modern human.
Right.
Confused out of choices, confused out of varieties, confused out of consumerism. And somewhere we all want to find clarity, surety, stability in our life. And Bhagavad Gita is the scripture. I mean, there is nothing that Bhagavad Gita says that Yoga Sutra doesn't say, and vice versa. In fact, the essence of Yoga Sutra of Patanjali is in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So I highly recommend the students of yoga and also practitioners of yoga to find a good teacher with whom they can study the book.
Yes.
Finding a good teacher is important. You know, just like you said, that you are blessed with a good teacher. And finding a good teacher is very, very important in today's day and age, because everybody seems to be knowing a little bit of this and little bit of that. But not many seem to be knowing the complete picture. So find a teacher who knows a complete picture.
Yes.
So he or she can guide you at every step, not just guide you and then go bye.
Exactly. We know we have to be careful not to lose that. Keeping that in mind, that teaching yoga, you know, it's way more. Yeah. And you teach it so beautifully, you know, the Bhagavad Gita, when you're reading it on your classes and telling the story of Krishna and Arjuna, how he transforms himself into a better individual. And that is the personal growth that we all want, right? And or we should want, right, to attain.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Prasad, you mentioned that yoga, the primary aim of yoga, going back a little bit, is to attain liberation, right?
No, I said release from suffering.
Release suffering, yes, I'm sorry. And some people also call it liberation, right? Do you agree with that? And explain to us, in your opinion, suffering from what, or attain liberation from what exactly? What is that? What does that mean?
No, the meaning is very, very simple. I like to call it release from suffering, as opposed to calling it moksha, enlightenment, self-realization. Mukti, yeah. Because not many of us understand moksha, but everybody understands suffering.
Right.
So I want to meet the student where they are. Nobody likes to suffer. Nobody likes to be unhappy. So if you ask somebody, would you like to be released from suffering? Would you like to be in a constant state of peace and happiness, which is called ananda? They would definitely agree with it, you know. So yes, release from suffering ultimately comes through self-realization and all that. But my working definition of yoga is release from suffering.
Yeah.
And suffering means any kind of suffering, physical suffering, mental suffering, emotional, social. Because ultimately suffering is where? Suffering is in the mind, right?
Yeah.
So yoga says, regulate your mind and gain control over your mind. That's it. So the goal, it's very, very simple. The goal of yoga is release from suffering. Suffering is in the domain of mind, and therefore we need to gain control over the mind. That's it.
Yes, totally agree. Yeah, and that's easy to understand for people. And as something interesting about that is, you know, some people are addicted to suffering, right? Do you
Yes.
agree? Like even when definitely nobody wants to suffer, right? I
Yes.
see people. I'm studying counseling psychology, graduate degree here in the United States, and we actually study the mind and psychology techniques, therapeutic techniques, and theories, and all of that to counsel people. And we study that exactly, how the mind can be your worst enemy, and how
Yeah.
people are addicted to suffering. They are so much involved in the mind chatter and suffering that they don't know a way out. They are not even conscious of that pattern.
Yeah.
So I think yoga is a great tool, even an alternative therapy method, right?
Sure. Sure.
Mindfulness
But
yoga.
I have to say, Claudia, that to really work with yoga, you will need to come to a very, very honest acceptance of the fact that you have to and want to get out of the cycle of suffering.
Yeah.
This is where, as the tradition says, you require a little maturity to come to you.
Yeah.
Uh, as a counseling psychologist, you may want people to improve, but if they don't realize the need to improve themselves, you will be just wasting your time and energy, you know. And that's why yoga is great for mental health. Yoga is great for people who suffer at the level of mind. But we can also not deny the fact that to really come into the practice of yoga, you require strong acceptance of your state of mind and the state of mind that you are looking to change to. Unless that acceptance is there, uh, transformation through yoga will be very challenging.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great point of view. Absolutely. Yeah. And people usually when they go to therapy is because there's already that shift a little bit, maybe, right?
Correct.
Like I need
Correct.
help. I want to stop the suffering.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
also what happens with yoga is yoga will not diffuse things. Yoga will bring things up.
Yes. I have seen a
Because
lot of people getting a lot of things out during yoga. Yoga, not during a class necessarily, but during a yoga teacher training, like you talk about emotions.
absolutely,
People
absolutely,
cry, you know, it's very emotional.
absolutely. Because yoga is a science of reflection.
Yeah.
And the process of yoga, and again, not just at the level of asana, but if you do the practices honestly, it will bring the unconscious patterns to the level of conscious reflection. And that is really not nice. Not nice in the sense of we, it's like saying we face our own demons.
Yes.
And to a certain extent, you have to. As they say, the only way out is through. You know, you have to literally clean your own mess. And then a time comes when you see the kind of mess that you've landed in, it's
Yeah.
not a nice sight. And that's why the yoga therapy or yoga counseling is a very, very responsible job where the counselor or therapist also needs to offer a very strong support system, and not just counseling.
Right, right. So when you say yoga therapy, what do you mean exactly? Like there is a specific specialization, so to speak, on yoga to use it as a therapy?
No, like I see some people, I don't do yoga therapy,
Yeah, me neither.
but there are some people who call whatever they do as therapy, means perhaps improving others at the level of mind or body or whatever.
Gotcha.
But,
Yeah,
but in the sense of mental therapy and things like that.
sure. Yeah. Okay, very well. So let's see. I'm looking at my notes here to make sure I don't miss anything I wanted to ask you.
No.
All right. So um, another thing that I really liked about your teachings is this emphasis in the yoga Instagram culture, social media, to be popular, get a lot of likes. Some people we know they can buy fans on Instagram and increase their
Yes.
numbers.
Yeah.
So that's completely non-yogic, right? Because as a spiritual person, as a spiritual practitioner, if you are a true, yogini or yogi, I don't think that I think that's contradictory, because you should go at your own pace, naturally, holistic, right? Getting people to like you slowly as you become popular, but there's this urgency, right, to be popular. And like you said, it's not necessarily evidence of a good yoga teacher. So let me ask you, in your opinion, what makes a good yoga teacher?
A good yoga teacher is somebody who is consistently working on himself or herself. For me, a good yoga teacher is somebody who is still a good yoga student, right?
Yeah.
Unless and until somebody who calls himself or herself a yoga teacher is in a continuous mode of self-discovery, they will not be able to guide others. Because yoga teaching is secondary. Yoga transformation of the self is primary. I have so many yoga students, they say, we don't want to teach. I said, that's fine. They have done their teacher trainings, and I tell them, that's fine. Don't teach, doesn't matter. But don't stop transforming yourself.
Exactly.
So the first point for me is, if you or anybody, or if somebody wants to call themselves a good yoga teacher, then they should first be a sincere, hardworking, honest yoga student.
Yeah.
Number two, a good yoga teacher is somebody who sees yoga and its application from a very, very broad perspective, not a limited perspective. Means you may be teaching a yoga asana class, but for you as a teacher, it should be very clear that yoga is not only an asana class.
Mm-hmm.
Why this is important is because your narrative as a teacher is creating students' belief system.
Exactly. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so it's like being a parent. It literally is. What the parent speaks, the child thinks of it as life principle. So if the yoga teacher is going to continuously say that yoga is asana, yoga is stretching, yoga is flexibility, then the students that the yoga teacher is reaching out to will think of yoga only as a physical practice.
Right.
So for me, a good yoga teacher needs to understand the broad holistic vision of yoga.
Absolutely.
And the third part of a good yoga teacher is, a good yoga teacher is somebody who has managed to not allow his yoga work to fuel his own self-esteem.
Okay.
I think it's a very, very important.
The ego.
Yeah, the ego.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it is just a play of you want to teach because you feel good by teaching. And I don't think that is nice. You're literally using people to feel good about yourself.
That is very, very interesting. I totally agree. Yes.
So, yeah, I understand initially it happens when 9 people turn up for your yoga class, you feel good. But then what happens when only 2 people show up to your yoga class? You feel
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
So, something that a yoga teacher's journey should teach a yoga teacher is that after a while, how much ever time it takes, the yoga teacher should teach out of a deeper purpose and meaningfulness and not out of generating self-esteem, self-value, self-worth, or ego boost
Yeah.
through his workshops or teach classes. That's it.
That is so important. So important to mention. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's so easy to get, excited about getting a little bit of popularity or getting students in your yoga class and go to your
Absolutely.
head, go to your ego. Yeah,
Absolutely.
and that is so important, Prasad, because I think we yoga teachers around the world are so responsible, right? We have a responsibility, a moral duty to embody the true meaning of yoga as it was presented thousands of years ago by these
Absolutely.
wise people, instead of depleting it or diluting it or changing it, right? I don't want that to happen. And you are totally right, and you really are transforming a lot of yoga teachers by being such a good teacher. So I may come to your workshop sometimes or your class. I would love to. And yeah, that happened to me. I've been teaching yoga for 4 years something. And probably the first 2 or 3 years, there were periods of months where I showed up to my class at a place and nobody showed up. And I was like, well, I'm gonna keep coming. And I kept going, and maybe one person showed up, and then the next 3 months nobody showed up. And I was like, am I a bad teacher? But I said, I'm gonna stay patient. If this is my destiny, to help others, they will come. Right?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I stayed put, and I said, God, use me as your instrument, right?
Absolutely.
If it is my destiny to help others through yoga, I will be patient and wait. And if they don't show up, maybe I should not be a yoga teacher, right? And I took it like that. And I'm not kidding, Prasad, in the last maybe 6-7 months, I have increased my students, my yoga classes a lot of. Students are
that's
coming.
because you have integrity. Somewhere I feel, maybe I sound too spiritual when I say this, but somewhere I feel the universe is watching.
Yeah.
And teachers who have integrity, the universe will send the right students.
Yeah.
Now I teach around the world. I can tell you honestly, I have very, very few dedicated students.
Yeah.
There are students who will come, learn, go, and that's fine. That's fine.
Sure.
But I have handful of students that I can say are dedicated. So perhaps you had the sense and maturity to not allow an empty class to reflect on your own personality.
Mm-hmm.
That is your maturity. But there are thousands of yoga students turning into yoga teachers every day almost.
Yes.
Who don't have the maturity. Then what happens? They will start promotion and nobody shows up, So in my teacher trainings, I make it a point to talk about this.
Right.
That tomorrow, if you start teaching, maybe a time comes when nobody shows up.
Yeah. And that's
That
okay.
that is okay, but that is the time you have to realize that first and foremost, I am a yoga student.
Always.
Yes,
Yeah.
and an output of that is a yoga teacher. I am not first a yoga teacher and then a yoga student. No,
Exactly. Yeah, I get
no.
that. That is so important.
So the nucleus of a yoga teacher is a yoga studentship, and
Uh-huh.
then people may come or people may not come to study with you. You are improving yourself, and that itself is your joy.
Yes, exactly. I love that, Prasad. I love that message. Yeah. And it's not that we are special, right? Like I'm not special. I'm just like anybody else, right? But it's just an outlook that I have, right? Like I try to be very balanced, which is what yoga teaches. Be happy
Absolutely,
in failure, be happy in success.
absolutely,
Don't go
absolutely.
overboard, and then you go
Yes,
down depressed. Always
yes,
steady. So that's
yes,
that's what I try to teach people. Always be steady, always happy with
absolutely.
with yourself.
Yes,
Yeah. And people can tell when you understand that and you're steady and you transmit this peace, right? This
absolutely.
calmness.
People can really sense all this. You're right when you say that.
Yeah.
People are not so unconscious as we think. The energy of the teacher, the mindset of the teacher, the dedication level, sincerity. The students are always watching the teacher and unconsciously absorbing things from the teacher like a sponge.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And that's where we are so responsible. We impact so many lives. So,
Yes,
so you said,
absolutely.
yeah, you said something interesting, Prasad. You said that there are too many yoga teachers being created, right? Do you think it's too much? Like we are generating these yoga teacher trainings to make money and producing teachers without really focusing on the quality, perhaps?
See, I don't usually, Claudia, I don't usually get into the right and wrong of it, of
Yeah.
anything. You know, if
Yes.
tomorrow, if the world was going to be destroyed by somebody's nuclear explosion, I'm personally okay with it. You know,
Yes.
so I try to stay away from strictly putting things into good and bad. Um, so I don't want to say that no, it's too many yoga teachers being thrown out into the market, because I know that it's very difficult to sustain your life by purely being a yoga teacher
Oh,
in
yeah.
Europe, America, Canada. It's very, very difficult.
It's very hard.
It's very hard. And at the level, at the 200-hour level, graduate level, people have to do 2-3 jobs to just be a yoga teacher or teach like 10 classes a week and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, uh, yeah, for some yoga studios, teacher training is the most important money earner in their business model. No, but they don't earn out of yoga classes purely.
Yeah.
So they want to fill up the yoga teacher trainings and things like that.
But they
But
can do it in the right way, right? And if they teach right, it would be great because a lot of yoga teachers would be good yoga teachers.
yes, first of all, I definitely think there is a need for yoga teachers.
Yeah,
I don't even mind if there are 7.5 billion yoga teachers on this planet.
that would be great.
Yeah, that's each one of us. But I feel the more the merrier. The more the yoga teachers we have, the better it is for humanity.
Yeah,
Because somewhere I feel that as people are losing their faith in organized religion, people are turning towards yoga teachers for spiritual guidance.
for sure.
Because not many people are going to churches, not many people are going to temples. The young generation wants to move away from organized religion, but still they cannot hide the spiritual seed inside of them.
Right,
you know.
right.
Soul calling is still there. So who do they go to? So they go to a yoga teacher,
Yeah,
because they know that a yoga teacher is non-partisan. A yoga teacher does not come from a very fixed, dogmatic background. So I feel somewhere the yoga teacher is filling in the gap between priest and the normal people.
I
So in
love
that,
that. Yeah, yeah.
so in that sense, I feel there should be more yoga teachers, but they should have a broader understanding of
Exactly. That is so important. Yeah, definitely. People are getting away from organized religion, institutionalized religion.
it.
I know I did. You know, I grew up Catholic in Mexico and never fell in love with Catholicism, you know, and I was a very early child, you know, very precocious, and I was
Yeah.
questioning myself a lot about that. And then I found yoga 10 years ago, something
Yeah.
like that. And it's really a good option, right,
Yes.
for finding that spirituality that we all yearn to have,
Absolutely.
but
Absolutely.
not dogmatic or institutionalized with just one God. This is the only truth.
No,
So I
no.
think people slowly are moving towards that.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
And yoga gives them space. Yoga gives such people space. You know,
right. Hmm.
I have so many students who are from religious background, and they moved away from religious background. And after studying yoga with me, they went back to their religion
Wow.
and looking at it in a better way. And
Yeah.
now they are completely fine with not the religious angle, but with the teachings,
Yes.
you
Yes,
know,
exactly.
because I mention a lot of from the New Testament, Bible, Jesus Christ's message.
Yeah, you do.
It's very, 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 very similar to message of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. So many people who have rejected Christianity, so to say, when they come to my workshops or retreats, they are like curious again, and then they go back and then they see, wow, I can look at the teachings of Jesus from this angle too, and they are
Yeah.
so happy.
Yeah, that's a great discovery. Yeah, to realize that there are several books that I read about the similarities with
Yeah,
Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, and
yeah,
all the religions. You know, a lot of similarities with the same message, which is
absolutely,
love each other, respect each other, and work on yourself.
absolutely.
Right, like God is inside of you.
Yeah,
That's the message, right? Do you
yeah,
agree?
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Very good. So you mentioned Prasad also the Yoga Sutra. So I want to show here this book here. This I think this is what you use on your teacher course, right? That one.
Yes, this
Uh,
is, I like this book.
yeah.
Uh, it is simple. It is a simple translation
Yes.
because honestly, Patanjali's Yoga Sutra can get very, very um, dense,
Tense.
like,
Oh, yeah.
head scratching.
Dense. Yeah.
That's why if you really see that in our usual teacher training course, we just do the basic yama niyama, and ahimsa and satya, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you see the first chapter, fourth chapter of Patanjali, you really require some strong philosophical, analytical background to understand what Patanjali is saying.
Yeah.
So this book is very simple, um, uh, very, very simplified, but not diluted, which is important.
Yes.
Because many times the authors, they want to simplify it, but in their aim of simplifying it, they just make it diluted. So I like this book. Yes, I highly
Yeah.
recommend.
It's very good. So tell us for our audience, what is the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali? This is like the most read book for yoginis, yogis, teachers,
Yeah,
practitioners, and it
yeah.
was written by Swami, by well, Patanjali, explain first who is Patanjali. He put the yoga together, right? So
Yeah,
transmit
okay.
yoga teachings to humanity, right? So tell us
Yeah,
about.
I mean, that's what they say. Patanjali, known as Maharishi Patanjali, basically was a compiler of a system of yoga. So basically, what does he do is he gives us a model of how to realize your true self. So Patanjali's model is not the only model. There are many different models of realizing the self.
Yeah.
Patanjali's model of Ashtanga Yoga is one of the many models. So what Maharishi Patanjali, or the great sage Patanjali, did was he basically compiled different understandings and techniques uh, to for any practitioner to realize the self. And he created a format called Sutras of Yoga, means basic aphorisms of yoga. So in those 192 or 196 sutras, means lines, you have a complete chart of transformation from an ignorant, deluded person to a person who perfectly understands himself or herself.
Yeah.
So in one sentence, I would like to say that Yoga Sutra of Patanjali is one of the best psychological manuals of yoga, because the main subject matter of Yoga Sutra is the mind, and that's why the whole premise of Yoga Sutra is how to um, come out of your limited mental construct and to operate out of your authentic, true nature.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. That's wonderful. Yeah. Very well explained. Okay. So that's the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Um, so, what is spirituality for you? What does that mean? What does that mean to you?
Uh, for, for me, spirituality means the the attitude of constantly improving on yourself. Constant self improvement in order to reach a calm and a centered state of mind is my definition of spirituality.
Okay. That's a good definition.
Yeah. I don't like to be mystical, or I don't like to be very cerebral, because I feel in modern spirituality there's too much mysticism, there's
Yeah.
too much vagueness, like, energy coming in and energy going out, and there are so many terms thrown around that nobody even knows what it means, but it sounds very mystical, so people just go with it. I try to stay away from
Okay.
mysticism. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I like to make things simple and non-mystical. And
Okay.
that's why I said, for me, spirituality means uh, improving on yourself till you reach a state where it's not possible to improve anymore.
Wow.
In
Is
fact,
that possible?
yeah, because that's why it's known as a state of perfection in yoga.
Yeah.
When you realize your Atma. Atma is what? Atma is you, you as you are in your true nature, beyond your ideas and conceptions and perceptions.
Can we also call that your soul, your consciousness?
Yeah, soul you can say, but then soul again, if you're brought up in a Christian ideology, soul will mean something that it has a completely different meaning to Atma.
Okay.
But yes, you can say soul. Soul, which is something that is beyond mind, beyond body, beyond social construct, beyond ideas. Yes, that's so.
Okay, good. Very good. So how does living a spiritual life has changed you as a human being? Have you been spiritual since you were young, or like you said, you went through some years where you were a little confused, you didn't know, we all go through those phases, I guess. So how has spirituality changed you as a human being?
Oh, spiritual doesn't mean not being confused. In fact, being confused is a very, very important and integral part of spirituality. If you're not confused and you call yourself spiritual, then you're not really experiencing spirituality.
I love
Because
that you said that. Is wonderful.
no, because see, ultimately what means spirituality? To reframe your self-concept.
Yeah.
So when Patanjali says you will find your true self, how do you reach that state? Through reworking, readjusting your ideas of self. Now, to come out of your prior idea of self, of who am I and how am I, you have to be a little confused or unsettled about your own idea of yourself. So there's nothing wrong in being confused on a spiritual path.
Sure.
The only way of spirituality is you should feel that you are becoming calmer, more peaceful, more independent, less needy. That's it.
Less attached.
Less attached. Yeah. I mean, the non-hating, not looking down upon others, humble, all these aspects are important aspects of measuring spirituality. Otherwise, you cannot measure spirituality. It's not like your soul, they say soul growth. It's not like your soul literally grows and then you weigh the soul, how much pound it is now. It's not like that. And in that sense, for me, how spirituality has changed me is I can say that I am much more calm, peaceful, happy with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that is the essence of spiritual. You cannot be spiritual and not like yourself or not enjoy being in company of yourself, look down upon others. For me, that is not spiritual.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely it has helped.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
See, one of the definition of a spiritual mystic in the Bhagavad Gita is the one who is satisfied by himself within himself.
Yeah.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
So that person, that yogi, how do you know that yogi is an advanced spiritual yogi? That yogi is satisfied by himself within.
Yeah.
So that person's dependencies on external objects or things or people is bare minimum. Even if the dependencies are there, they are there not from a psychological point of view, but for sustenance point of view. I will need the vegetable vendor to buy some tomatoes. That doesn't make me independent. That doesn't make me dependent. It is normal work.
Sure.
But if I'm going to expect the vegetable vendor to say hello sir to me every time I go to him, then I am not spiritual. I have not really learned anything from my yoga.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it comes to psychological self-sufficiency.
Yes, yes, exactly. That's wonderful. Very important concept. And also, as yoga teachers, we are transmitting those teachings, right, to people to help them in their spiritual path, personal growth. Be an instrument
Absolutely.
for that. Yeah, because I see definitely people getting into relationships. You know, of course, relationships are great. They are good. They can help you a lot, you know, and we are social beings. We live in a
Yes.
community and we need affection and company. However,
Absolutely.
I think in our society, our community, we go into relationships when we are not yet secure in ourselves, you know, happy with ourselves. So we try to extract happiness, fulfillment,
Absolutely.
pleasure from other person. And it
Absolutely.
doesn't work because you can't expect others to make you happy, to give you all of that you have inside. And
Absolutely.
that's definitely my mojo. And I try to explain that to people, you know, family, relatives, that not necessarily a relationship is going to make you happy if you are not there yet.
Absolutely.
What do you have to give? So I think
Absolutely.
through yoga, we really can attain that state of self-fulfillment,
Yes.
calmness, you know, like you said, balanced mind. And then
Absolutely.
you are ready to be a good partner to somebody else, a good friend. Yeah,
Yes.
it's a
Then
process.
that is when you can love for the sake of love
Yeah,
and not for anything else. You know,
yeah,
uh, a relationship from an unsettled, unsecure point of view will always be a transaction. It will not be a relationship. It
yeah,
will always be conditional. I love you because you make me feel good.
yes,
Because will always be an important part of your relationship. Right or wrong, I don't know. But then both the partners will be so dependent on that because that if tomorrow, if the other partner does not give that because, creates a chaos in the relationship.
yeah, of course.
So you basically, the partners don't pull each other up. They just drag each other down.
Exactly, exactly. I see
So
that a lot, yeah, among, you know, people I know or some friends that share things with me. And it's normal, right? I'm not judging,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it is very important to be conscious of that process, right? That we can really make a difference with yoga, the yoga tools to work on ourselves and be ready for a relationship. Be better
absolutely,
human beings, right? And
absolutely.
you don't even have to be in a relationship to be happy and fulfilled.
No,
That's another thing I, you know, try to explain to my family, right, in Mexico.
yeah,
Like, uh,
yeah,
sometimes it's great to be on your own for a while, or as a
yes,
lifestyle, you know,
yes, yes,
until you can
absolutely,
really contribute something meaningful, and then it comes naturally.
absolutely, absolutely. Instead of going around looking for somebody just to feel better about yourself.
Sure, yeah, yeah. Or overemphasizing your looks, right? We go back to the importance of
Exactly.
spirituality and the process instead of looking great, you know, having the best looks to attract someone else. Of course, that's a plus, but it should
Yeah.
not be the foundation, I
No,
think, right?
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is also every individual's maturity. You know, sometimes
Yeah.
you will fall in and out of 10 relationships and then realize that, you know what, now I'm not going to get into this out of neediness. I'm just going to give time for myself and come back to it when I feel certain, you know.
Yeah,
So life has its own way of teaching us,
right.
you know.
Yeah.
And I feel as yogis, we need to not take life so seriously, like not make it just about us,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Just allow life to show us and teach us what we need to learn,
Yeah.
and then it's a beautiful process. Then you feel like floating in a river, and the river is just taking you wherever it goes.
Yeah, we have a saying in the United States, I'm sure you know it, like going with the flow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Non-resistance, right? Going with the flow of the water. That's
Yeah,
the best way I have learned in life sometimes, to go with the
absolutely.
flow.
Absolutely.
It's really life changing when you get it and you try it, you know. Like I have moments in my life where it could be devastating for most people, but I
Yeah.
always try to say, go with the flow, you know. And sometimes difficult experiences accelerate your spiritual growth, right?
Yes,
With
absolutely.
so I always try to tell
Absolutely.
people that, you know, like,
This is important. This is how suffering is very important, because from
right.
the yoga point of view, they will say that suffering will, if processed properly,
Exactly.
suffering will improve your vairagya. Vairagya means detachment towards transient objects.
Yeah.
So suffering is welcome.
Yes.
But for that, you will need to have a very right frame of mind to look at the suffering and learn from it and quickly sort yourself out.
Oh my God, Prasad, you just hit it on the nail. You know, this is crucial
Yeah,
in our growth as human beings, you know.
yeah,
I notice a lot of these in I talk about the United States because I live here. I'm
yeah.
originally from Mexico City. My family's from Spain. I lived abroad, and now I live here since 1990 something.
Wow.
And you know, I see a lot of people. It's in the culture to avoid suffering through using drugs, getting distracted, going to a fancy trips, you know, seeking pleasure. So
Yeah,
instead of processing that suffering in a healthy way, like you said, right? Instead of escaping through drugs, drinking, feeling good instantaneously, just pausing for a moment and thinking, how can this suffering, what can I learn of it and make me a better human being, and stay with
yeah,
it, right? Be strong,
absolutely.
stay with the suffering. And I tell that to my students during yoga, you know, when we are doing a yoga pose, maybe a hip opener that is uncomfortable, right? I tell them, take this uncomfortable moment, maybe a little bit painful, to work on your personal growth. This is the personal journey of yoga. Do you agree?
Yes, definitely. But also, I want to draw upon a fact that spirituality itself, if wrongly understood, can be an escape from life.
Ah, yeah,
Hmm? So we have to be very alert, because spir- spirituality, wrong understanding of spirituality, can make you escape facing suffering,
sure, yeah,
facing and processing suffering.
definitely.
Like I know so many people, and I see this in the Instagram culture and digital nomad culture. Now you don't have to be based in one place, so people just pick up their laptops and they just go. And going is basically escaping. Sometimes you have to just stay there and face it.
Sure.
So, and people have done that since ancient times. People used to run away from their family responsibility and become a monk, you
Mm,
know. So
hmm.
people have always done that. And that's why we need to understand the role of suffering in our life, and
Exactly.
realize that suffering is not really suffering if you look at it. Suffering is just a lesson in disguise. And if you're mindful enough, you'll be able to pick up that lesson, learn, and grow.
Exactly. For sure. That's a great message for people listening. You know, if you're going through rough times, very difficult times, no matter how dark they feel, always try to reach for that. You know, this is going to pass. What can I learn? I'm going to
Absolutely.
process it, be, make myself a better human being based on this.
Yes.
And
And
reach
that's
out
why,
to others, right? Like maybe try
absolutely.
yoga,
This,
try.
this, this is what I was coming to, is that this is why I usually talk about community and Sangha.
Yeah,
It's important to have company of like-minded people, because somewhere spiritual path is very lonely, and can become very, very lonely,
Yeah.
Even if you find one or two like-minded people in front of whom you don't have to pretend, you can just be yourself, share your darkest, deepest secrets, be vulnerable, then that really helps.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it
So
does.
wherever I go, wherever I teach, I just drop a seed that, hey, create a sangha, have a little kind of group where you can meet and learn and grow and exchange together. And we really need that in modern world.
Yeah, definitely. We need that. Yeah. Yeah, wonderful. Okay, I am aware of the time, so we're almost done, Prasad.
Okay.
Just one more question.
Yeah.
I always ask this to people. I love this question. Destiny or free will? What do you think is going on here? Like, most people have a destiny, meaning you have a purpose in life, or a predetermined future or life situation, or there's free will and we create our own destiny, our own future. There's nothing predetermined or destined for us. What do you think about that?
This question itself is a question that is coming out of ignorance.
Yeah.
Means, again, nothing wrong with the question, but the need to know if there is free will or not, that need is whose need? Is a need of a limited mind. So this question comes from avidya. And in this sense, this question itself is a fantasy. And that's why the answers, both, whatever the answer may be, itself would be fantasy. Because I can tell you this is right and give you logical reasons for that. I can tell you the other thing is right and I can give you logical reasons for that. So it's a question of duality, from duality. Because both perspectives will be right. That's why we have, it's like saying God exists or God doesn't exist. No mystic has this doubt. No self-realized person will tell you God doesn't exist or God exists.
Right.
Yeah. So I personally have no answer for it because I personally am not interested in this question, because for me it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter.
It really doesn't matter, because when I say free will, whose free will? I'm still talking about my ego, right?
Yeah.
And then destiny, whose destiny? My ego's destiny, because my soul has no destiny. My soul is immortal, infinite bliss. Yeah. And the same way, my soul has no free will, because my soul is ever expansive, time immemorial truth. So from an absolute point of view, this question really should not bother us.
Yeah.
But if we want to just argue, then it's a fantastic question for a coffee table conversation.
Yes.
I have personally never given this question a thought, because I don't feel the need to, because I trust the process of life so much that I don't really care if it is my will that I am operating out of, or if my whole life is predetermined. I don't really care.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So for me, this is no question at all.
Yeah.
Sorry, but I don't have an answer then.
No answer. It's just your point of view on that, because a lot of people ask themselves, when they start becoming more spiritual, like a lot of questions come up, a lot of self-questioning, like, is it destiny? Is it, do I make
Okay,
it?
let us take that for
But
argument.
maybe there's no answer, right? Or maybe it's both.
there is no right answer, because in duality there cannot be a singular answer.
Okay.
If there is a singular answer in duality, that means everybody has agreed upon it. That's it.
You're right.
You know. So if we take that for argument, okay, if I say there is free will, so what's the problem? Okay. If there is free will, then use it. Because if you have free will, everybody has free will.
Mm-hmm.
If I say, if I have free will and I will beat you up, then you also have free will to beat me up. So then we have a full humanity full of chaos. And then one day we will all die. So that's how it goes. And then in the next case, there is no free will. Everything is predetermined. Then well and good. Just relax. Why are you worried and stressed about?
Right.
So it really doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter at the end. Okay. And so Prasad, just to finish, I mean, I could talk to you for hours and hours, but I know you have so many things to do. You're so busy. But just final.
Actually, I'm going for a movie now. So.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
At what time?
Avengers. No, I will leave now in 5 minutes.
Okay, we're done now. So
Yeah.
tell us, what is the best advice you have been given in your life?
Trust. That's it.
Trust others?
Trust.
That was the advice.
Just trust.
Okay.
Have faith. Have faith.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there is nothing stronger than faith on the path of yoga.
Yeah.
Now, who to have faith in, it is very personal. I will not say who to have faith. It could be on God, it could be faith in your guru, it could be faith in the process, or it could be faith in yourself. Whatever comes easily to you, have faith in that and have 100% unflinching faith in that.
Yeah.
And that's the most important advice. If I could give it to him.
Okay. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Have faith. I mean, nothing is the opposite of faith is fear. So if you don't have faith, you will live in fear. And if you don't want to live in fear, live in faith.
Oh my God, yeah, that is so true. So many people I meet, they are so fearful about so many things. And it's like living in the future, of worrying about things that may never come, and it ruins your life. It's like it hurts my heart just to see that. But very good point. Okay, Prasad, so thank you so much. You are
Thank you so much.
a super guru, and I hope we can meet. I'm going to be in India in July, hopefully.
Okay.
So I don't know if you're going to be there in July, but I will message you to see if I can.
Sure, definitely.
And just let me mention quickly, your Facebook page is Yoga Prasad Institute.
Yes, correct.
Yes, and then you have a website, yogaprasad.in.
Yes.
And your YouTube channel, you have more than 300 amazing videos. I mean, you are like a school on wheels. And then your YouTube channel is Yoga Prasad Institute. And I'm going to put it all down in the comments of this video.
Sure. Perfect.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you
so much.
Very nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.